And this is another one that's really big for me, is planting a seed. So somebody planted a seed, the previous managing partner here, when we were talking about that the position was going to be open.
The managing position.
The managing partner at that time.
Oh, okay.
And I was an assistant.
The managing partner was telling you about
Yeah.
the management position that was opening.
The managing partner was telling me about the restaurant manager position that was going to be opening.
Going
so
from
I was
supervisor to manager.
Going from, assistant manager, and then like, oh, now restaurant manager position is going to be opening up. And he was like, I think you should be the next restaurant manager. And I was like, oh, really?
Tell me more.
I know, right? Do you really? But I mean, honestly, I'll never forget that and the importance of planting seeds.
This episode made possible by Restaurant Systems Pro. With excitement, allow me to introduce to you today's guest partner at Zingerman's Roadhouse, Lisa Schultz. Lisa, my lady, are you feeling unstoppable today?
Let's do it. I'm unstoppable.
Yeah, I cannot wait to dive into this. And I'm talking to you because Ari Weinswag, somebody who I have a lot of admiration for. I think this will be our fourth or third time we got him on the show.
Oh, nice.
He said he has a new pamphlet out all about dignity. I'm like, I'm all about it, Ari. Let me come to Ann Arbor, get you back on the show. I'm like, but while I'm out there, who else should I get on the show?
Yeah.
You know Ann Arbor better than I do. Who else should I get on the show? And your name was at the top of the list of the people I should be talking to. So I'm psyched to be here, Lisa. I can't wait to dive into who you are and how you got to where you are today as a partner at Zingerman's Roadhouse. But let's get that motivational, inspirational, ball rolling with a success quote or mantra. What do you got for us?
Yeah. So I think it's really, if I can take care of people, then my staff can take care of our guests.
Yes. If you can take care of people, your staff can take care of your guests. Get into that.
Yeah. Yeah. So we are, and I know Ari's going to talk about dignity, but we are all about, again, respecting people. Our model is all about servant leadership when we take care of our staff. So we kind of have the upside down triangle, right? So there's a lot of corporate entities where there's like top, it's kind of like a top down environment. We're like the opposite. So we're like, if we can take care of our staff, then the staff can really take care of the guests, and we're there to support them so that they can support and accommodate and, find out what it is that they came in for, and just, deliver the 3 steps to great service, right? Like finding out what the guest wants, getting it for them, like going the extra mile, doing the little something extra for the guest to make their experience memorable. Yeah,
and that's one of the things that really excites me about Zingerman's, what the work you're doing here is. It's really about transforming communities and taking a different approach to business. Mm-hmm. Honestly, probably a more traditional approach, but I feel like the industry got away from the traditional approach of being a part of the community and really creating transformative relationships. And I think we went to more of a transactional world. And now I think we're starting to realize there's a void in the world, and it's communities, it's relationships, and we're going back in that direction.
Yeah.
And I really do think Zingerman's is at the forefront of choosing to do the more intimate thing when they could have went and scaled, right? Yeah. And it all comes back to service leadership. And I can't wait to dive into what it's been like to come up in an industry or in a organization that's just so well known for having high standards of operation.
Yeah.
What that must have been like.
Yeah.
Where does it make sense to start sharing your story, though? Take us back to the beginning. Do we go back to 2004, before that?
Yeah, I'm from Ann Arbor, born and raised. Went to school here, went to all different colleges and universities around the area, including U of M. I didn't really get into food service early on. I think I had a little bit of experience. There was a restaurant called Salad Days that was around for a short period of time, and I think that might have even been at the end of high school.
Salad Days?
Salad Days.
Was it like a fast casual or full service salad restaurant?
No, it was fast casual, and it's going back quite a bit.
It's really ahead of their time, too, back in 2003, 2002. I'm assuming this was what you're talking about?
Oh, yeah, no, this was back in 1996.
Wow, really ahead of their time.
Yeah. So I don't think it was there for too long, maybe a couple of years, but I do remember doing some kind of food production, not so much service, but I think that was my first experience with kind of hospitality. After college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I ended up working where my ex-husband worked at, which we were just girlfriend, boyfriend at the time, but it was called the Reuse Center. The Reuse Center, yeah. Okay. And it was awesome. It was a community staple, and when it was run by Recycle Ann Arbor. And it's 2 10,000 square foot warehouses connected that just sold building materials and household goods, not so much clothing, but, records and you name it. So I worked there for 3.5 years, and really, when I think back about it now, now that you're asking, that was service oriented. I was helping people all day, like price things, show them where things were.
Yeah, and I think beyond the person to person transaction, like you're serving your community by and the world, really being an influencer, helping people
time.
realize we can recycle things.
Yeah.
Upcycle, is that the term?
Maybe.
Or I don't know.
Yeah.
I think upcycle is when you take something old and you alter it a little bit to make it new again.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, people were, so yes, absolutely. People were dropping things off all day long. I used to also go on a lot of deliveries to people's homes and pick all kinds of stuff up from them.
Nice.
So yeah.
So you were kind of like one of those the pickers like they have on Discovery.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, like what you got? We're going to take it back and sell it, cool. Right?
So this is, what year is this when you're doing all this? How many years before?
This was let's see. This was probably 2000 to 2003. Which makes sense because in 2003, then I decided I wanted to go back to school to be a dietitian, of which that's not what I'm doing right now, but I thought that would be something that I would like to do. And I decided that I wanted to work in a restaurant. And so my ex-in-laws got me a job at a restaurant that I was not qualified to work in because I had no experience in restaurants. So
was it like a fine dining restaurant?
It was. It's a seafood restaurant here in Ann Arbor. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So on a higher scale, for sure. Yeah. And I didn't know how to open a bottle of wine. I didn't know much about anything really about the food.
Then where
or
would
seafood.
you go to learn how to do that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you kind of. I guess like a lot of people work their way up and stuff like that. And well, I hadn't.
But plus, I think too, you always see this. It's like experience required. And I think this is something that you see less of today because we've learned to get away from it.
Yeah.
But it's like no matter where you go, you need experience. Like, where do you go to get the experience? Am I supposed to go, research wine best practices on my own time, like how to get my my SOM certificate?
Right.
Yeah. It's not realistic.
No, it's not. So anyway, it was good. I mean, I definitely got kind of pushed into it, and it was a very big learning experience for myself. But that was my first kind of in the hospitality industry, and I was a server.
So it was a learning experience, but was it a good experience or a bad experience in terms of was it stressful because you didn't have the experience? Yeah,
it was a good experience because I learned a lot. It wasn't a great experience. Unfortunately, there's a lot of you're from the industry.
Yeah.
There's a lot of places out there that can have really negative environments.
We didn't say the name of the restaurant, so feel free to go deeper.
Oh, do you want me
Yeah, I mean, paint the picture of what not good looks like.
Okay. It feels funny being in Ann Arbor. It's okay. I'll just I'll leave it at that. But sometimes in some restaurant environments and some restaurant managers can create, and staff and everybody can create kind of toxic environments that it's
Got it.
It's not comfortable. It's not helpful. Like, it's stressful already, right? You hit your peaks, your meal periods, and you're going and you're trying to create an experience for a guest, a great experience. And the other end of it is that you're getting shit on, you know what I mean?
Right. No, you're allowed to curse. Don't worry.
Okay, good.
Our audience is restaurant owners. I know our target audience.
Okay, cool. If I can, because I kind of have a potty mouth. Though, so
we're a bunch of sailors in this industry. I get it.
Tight.
So, so basically what I'm hearing is, when you're trying to put on this show, at the end of the day, we are creating an experience. We are ducks on water, right? Underneath the surface, you see those feet going really fast, but you don't see that. You only see what's going on top of the water. And when behind the scenes, under the surface, there's chaos and disrespect and bad things happening, it's harder to switch to get to that place where you're on display.
Yeah.
So if you can just have a good world on both sides, it makes being that 100%. Service deliverer way better.
100%. 100%. So I did experience what we were talking about, and it wasn't. I didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed the hospitality aspect. I enjoyed taking care of guests. I enjoyed learning about the food and eventually learning how to open a bottle of wine, how to do all those things.
So a year later, you have all this experience, and you decide do you just want to leave that restaurant, or was there an opportunity here at Zingerman's? How did you discover Zingerman's?
Yeah, absolutely. So there was a host that worked at the restaurant that I was working at and also worked here at Zingerman's Roadhouse. And he said, I think that you would be a good fit. I mean, I like both places that I work, but I think the Roadhouse would be a good environment for you and it would be a better fit for you. And I was like, okay, cool. So we were hiring.
Was there a conversation that was happening where you're like, I don't know if I want to work here anymore? Like, I might.
Yeah, I think I was just kind of over the, like,
Drama.
I had been there almost a year and it was drama.
Yeah.
It's, and I'm not a dramatic person. Like, I like positivity and I like having fun and I like, providing great service to each other and to our guests and like having a good time. Like you kind of referenced a little bit ago, like, even though it isn't like having a party, sometimes it is like having a party. Do you know what I mean? When you work in a restaurant, and I like parties.
When things are going good, yeah, me
right,
too.
Like,
honestly, I'll be transparent. Like, that's one of the big things I love about this industry is the people that you work with. You work hard. You end the night with a bunch of money in your pocket. It's like maybe 9 o'clock you're getting out. And you get to go have a good time with the people that you enjoy working with.
Right.
When you're in your early 20s, like that's a good time.
Yeah.
It's
No.
fun.
I had a good
It's
time.
real. It's really real.
Yeah.
So at this point, a year in, are you saying to yourself, I want to make a career out of this? Or are you still for now job?
No, I think just for now job at that point. I still was like, I'm not sure, I was in my mid-20s.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not sure what I want to do, but I know I like working in restaurants and I know I don't like working in the restaurant that I'm in, but I think I would still like to continue to work in restaurants.
Were you still thinking you wanted to be a dietitian? Is that what you said?
Yeah, so I was still in school. Yep, I was in school and it was fine and it was going okay. But as I continued to work here, there was opportunity. So I came here to serve. So then I came here and I got the job. And I was like, yay. So I moved over here to Zingerman's Roadhouse as a server. And I actually served here for about 5 years.
Okay.
So the timeline's a little off. But eventually I went back to school at some point during those 5 years. And I did complete the program. But then there was opportunity here to get into leadership.
Okay.
And that's what really started my...
What was your first impression once you came here relative to your one other experience in the industry? How was it different?
It was more laid back. It was more supportive and more accommodating, and just what it is, how we want to provide that service to our guests. We were actually providing that to each other here, like staff to staff, which I wasn't totally getting, or sommes not at all, honestly.
Yeah. This is before Danny Meyer's book, Enlightened Hospitality, or the Setting the Table came out, where he talked about enlightened. So it was kind of, it wasn't industry standard to think about treating, starting like that hospitality being delivered to each other and then to the guest.
No. No, it wasn't. And again, it's unfortunate, and I think a lot of restaurants, it's still not there. Right. You know what I'm saying? But anyway.
So just for some context, in case anybody hasn't heard of Zingerman's, so Ari Weinswag, Paul Saginaw started back in 1982.
82, yeah.
At Zingerman's Delicatessen.
Correct.
They had a tear. They did a great job. Tear meaning a good thing.
Yeah.
They went on a tear.
Yeah.
And they've scaled today, without getting into too much detail. How many total businesses are involved?
I think there's 9 brick and mortar.
9 brick and mortar.
Yeah.
So they have Zingerman's Delicatessen, the Bakehouse, the
Yep. We have coffee
Roadhouse.
Company and candy manufacturing together. We have Zing Train, so training entity. Cornman Farms, an event space out in Dexter.
Yeah. The catalog's no longer around, right? Or do they?
No, mail order. We have.
Okay.
Oh yeah, they're huge. Big. One of the biggest businesses, mail order.
Oh, really?
That ships across.
Well, there's infinite possibility for that. There's no ceiling to mail order.
Yeah.
Right?
No, they have wonderful products, Zingerman's products, other products from around the world.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's big.
I think in his pamphlet he said total gross. He's pretty public. So do you know the number? I would say it was like 80 million.
I think 60.
60 million?
65.
Right. So something like they're doing well.
Yeah.
Right. And beyond that, Ari has his series of books and his pamphlets, a lapsed anarchist approach to building a great business, becoming a better leader, leading oneself, beliefs in business.
Yeah.
Am I missing any? Community, I think is another one.
Yeah. Oh no, there's tons.
There's tons.
Yeah.
So in really what Ari's doing in those books is sharing his business philosophy, what his lessons over the years, 41 years, 42 years to date he's been doing this. He's kind of just like written short essays. So you would read all those books and you would think, wow, man, coming to work at Zingerman's must be really intense, right? Because of all the standards and the excellence that's associated with the brand.
Yeah.
But what I'm hearing from you is that it wasn't really intense. It was casual.
Yeah. I mean, it felt good. It was more like home to me. Again, just like the kind of the respect, like again, like the supportiveness and the not like the competitiveness that you can feel, and like again, the drama that can like ensue very quickly in those, chaotic, if you will, environments. It doesn't have to be chaotic. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be like that. So when I came here, I mean, sure, we're a restaurant. We're people. Like stuff's still gonna happen. But all in all, if we try to come back to the center, and it's not about, again, it's not about the competitiveness, and it's not about the, like, we call it like skunking, kind of like talking shit about, like not going direct.
That
right?
negative energy, whether it's positive or negative, it floats.
Yeah. So we have those like go direct policy that we encourage people, like if
go direct policy.
Go direct.
What does that mean?
Yeah. So if there is, if somebody does say something that, affected you negatively, did they mean it or not? Did somebody do something that really was off-putting? Again, was it a direct attack on you or not? And it's still kind of lingering, right? So like you wake up the next day and you're like, wow, like I can't believe so-and-so like said that or did that. Like we encourage somebody to go and have a direct conversation with them about it.
Yeah. So if you have beef, instead of, airing your laundry out with everybody else but that person, go to that person and be like, hey, when you said this or you did that, it made me feel this way.
Yes.
And just communicating.
Yes. Yeah. So we have all kinds of fun stuff that we teach in our Welcome to the Roadhouse class. So definitely go direct, but it's also right time, right place, right people.
So when you were hired, this was 2004.
2004, yeah.
Zingerman's was pretty public at this point, where they were well known. I think Aria was writing; he was sharing his information at this point. So what was the first thing that happened? What was the interview process like?
Here,
yeah.
Actually, so our previous managing partner, so the person who opened up the restaurant, his name was Alex Young. And he's still around. I think maybe he's doing something in Detroit right now. But he's been around the area. He actually was interviewing because we had just opened up the previous. So I started in August, and we had opened up the previous September. So it hadn't been quite a full year that the restaurant was open. Had been open, and he was still interviewing the servers, which was fun and completely intimidating, to be honest, because I'm like, it wasn't just like a hiring specialist. It was actually the managing partner still doing the interviews for bringing on the service staff. So it was nerve-wracking, for sure.
I'm sure it was.
I mean, it wasn't with Ari, but it was with the managing partner that was
Has
here.
the process changed a lot since then? The hiring process over the past 20 years?
Yeah,
Crazy
in
to
a
think
good
it's
way.
been 20 years since 2004, huh? Isn't that wild?
Yeah, I'm going to have in August 6th, I'll have my 20-year anniversary.
I know, right around the corner.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
It's coming up. It's changed a lot, but I mean, I think in an appropriate way. Now it's like, actually, I still do quite a bit of the hiring with help from other people.
Okay.
But we have more like hiring, kind of specialists, some HR help.
Well, I mean, I'm sure it's changed because like that's one of Ari's beliefs is to constantly be evolving, right?
Yeah. Oh, we're always, yeah. Yeah.
So you went through this hiring process, and you said there was Zing Train, the training process too. What was that like relative to your previous experiences? Yeah,
so Zing Train is they teach like the recipes and like tenets and the way that we do things here.
Culture.
All of that stuff through like seminars and workshops and things like that. So they're their own training entity. So if you come into any of the Zingerman's businesses, you're not necessarily going to be working with Zing Train. They do like public, teach to the public and do private things as well.
But they're teaching the same things essentially.
They are. Yeah, exactly. They're teaching, yes, what Zingerman's is all about, but to the public or private classes or workshops.
Got it. So what were the first, again, along this idea of like your transformation, looking back at that time, your evolution, like just bring, like what comes to mind? What are you thinking about?
Well, when I came on as a server, I wasn't thinking about much because, like I said, we talked about I was, kind of in my mid-20s, and I was having a good time and getting to know, people here, and like you said, like having a fun work experience and then having fun after work.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed my job. I very much appreciated the environment and what we stood for and the level of service that we delivered, to our guests and to each other.
What was your interpretation for what you stood for back in 2004?
Personally?
Yeah.
Well, again, I don't think I got compared to where I am now. I wasn't as thinking as deeply. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Clearly, over 20 years later, what you learned in 20 years.
Yeah.
But it was like I said, the environment was comfortable. I loved everything about, like, again, service to our staff and service to each other. And then when I really started to get a little more serious, I got into the open book part of it, which we are an open book finance company. And I think that's what really kind of got me going into thinking more about the future and about leadership and about what that could be for me and what that means for the restaurant and the organization.
What did getting into open book look like for you? How did that like play out?
Yeah. So we have we call them huddles. and we meet weekly, and all the Zingerman's businesses have them. And some they have by even different departments and stuff. So here at the restaurant, we have 3 different huddles that we do each week. We have an all-staff huddle, one for the back of the house, and one for the Roadshow Silver Trailer here and the front of the house. And when you come to a huddle, you hear reporting from the different line owners of different metrics that we're measuring for things around the restaurant. So it can be things that most restaurants are measuring, but they're probably just not sharing it with the staff.
What are the things that you are measuring and sharing?
Yeah. So I own a line for total sales and restaurant sales. And then we also break it down into, catering and our bar sales and roadshow sales, everything that will contribute to our total. And each person is talking about those things as we go through the meeting. We're also looking at, check averages, cover counts, our net operating profit, right? How are we doing as a business?
Yep.
But we're sharing those numbers every week with the staff. They're not mandatory. We want the staff to come to them and very much encourage them to come, but it's not mandatory. So we usually get about between 20 and 30 people.
Out of
160.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also it's a good way to kind of filter through who wants it and who's showing up.
Yeah, who's showing up.
Who's doing the extra work, right?
It is, yeah. And it's really, though, about, there's lots of things, but it's the impact that all of us can have, right? So it's not just me. Sure, like I'm the managing partner, I work my way up, but I need everybody here. Like, I want you to know the positive impact that you can have on this restaurant to make us successful so that we can all make more money and have a great work environment and, continue into the future.
So, okay, take me through you call it a huddle.
Yeah, huddles, yeah.
What is the format of your huddle?
Yeah, so right now, they used to be in person all the time before the pandemic.
Right.
Crazy thing. And we would pull out these huge whiteboards where it would have all of the written metrics on there and who owned that line.
Okay.
And then we would just go down the lines and we would hear the reports from all the different folks.
So when the meeting starts, you just get straight into numbers, going through reporting?
Well, we do fun things here at Zingerman. So we do, yeah. So we do like an introduction, like icebreakers, like fun, silly, like what's your favorite this, or if, would you choose this or would you choose this? Or
why is that important?
Again, I think it breaks the ice, right? It gets people comfortable and it gets people in a mode where they're engaged and listening and talking and contributing.
Yeah.
Because I know I've been there because I'm kind of an introvert. We can go to meetings and not say a word the entire time, but
right.
Are you really paying attention and listening? And if you're not engaged, is it really sinking in, right? So it's kind of getting the voice and everyone's voice in the room.
I think it's good to start personal too. It gives people a chance to listen to more than just the business relationship, but to understand who people are. We do a level 10 meeting at Restaurant Unstoppable, which is a EOS term, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Okay.
EOS. And they say what they like to suggest you do at the beginning of every meeting is share personal and professional good news. So it brings in the personal side. So now you can see beyond the person at the restaurant to know what's going on in their personal life, to understand them, their interests, their passions, and all this stuff. You can use that information to serve people in their work life too. So I think it's really interesting.
What up, Unstoppable restaurant owners and operators? We have to interrupt today's video to let you know that Restaurant Unstoppable and Restaurant Systems Pro, we're taking our relationship to the next level. Beginning in July of 2024, Fred Langley, CEO of Restaurant Systems Pro, is making himself available once a week in Restaurant Unstoppable Network to answer all of your restaurant systems questions, whether it's be profit margins. He will look at your P&L. Bring your P&L. He will take a look at that. He will dissect it. He will help you find your profit, whether that be through budgeting, inventory management, costing recipe cards, labor, checklists, you name it. He is a master of restaurant systems, and he's making himself available to you. Fred Langley and Restaurant Systems Pro started as a consulting firm, and for over 16 years, they've been helping their clients increase their profit by 10% or more. What are you waiting for? Click the link below to join our Facebook group, Restaurant Unstoppable Network.
Okay, so you start with icebreakers, making it personal, and then you get into the numbers?
Yeah, so just back up real quick, because another really important thing that we do with regularity at all the meetings really across the organization is we do an energy check.
Okay.
Also. So we'll usually do a combination of, what's your energy? From 0 to 10, how you feeling? Where and so you can say whatever you want. I'm at an 8. I'm at a 9.5.
Why is that important?
Same thing. I think it makes people reflect back to themselves, how am I feeling right now?
Yeah.
And maybe internally, why am I feeling that way? But it's good just to, if someone says I'm at a 4 because I didn't get any sleep because I was up with my dog that was crying all night or my baby or what have you, you know what I mean? It also lets us know, hey, we know where they're at, right?
Today.
Yeah. So yeah, you just hang tight, do what you need to do.
Maybe today's not the best day to
yeah.
give Sally that bad news.
Right, exactly, right, yeah. So it's fun. So we do energy checks, icebreakers, and then we'll usually start back into so we call it a DOR board, a departmental operating report, and that's the report that has all the different metrics and line owners that are going to report on the information.
Yeah, you're reminding me of the advice that Mike Ganino, who actually I believe is friends with RA as well. Mike
Probably,
Ganino.
he's friends with a lot of people.
So he talked about the best number to manage is your people's score from like 0 to 1 on or whatever that is, 0 to 10, like happiness. Are you in a good place? But just giving people that outlet to say, I'm not good.
Yeah.
And it's also just a way to like literally see people and like just to create that open space to be able to do that. So powerful.
Yeah. Big time.
So, okay. So, and then you get into the numbers.
Yep. Then we get into the numbers and people can talk about, we try to follow the 80-10 rule. So it is looking 20% behind and 80% in the future. Which sometimes we're good at, sometimes we're not. But why are the numbers? So we'll have on the DOR board, it's always set up as there's a plan number.
What's DOI?
The DOR, so
DOR.
departmental operating report.
Got it.
So like on the board right now it's virtual, so it's going to be just a document.
Got it.
But it'll have a plan. We have plan numbers that we put in place at the beginning of the fiscal year. Those numbers don't change. Then we have our forecasted numbers of what we think we're going to come in at, and then we have the actual number that we're reporting on. So that's kind of the format for everybody going down. Here's what we came in at compared to forecast, compared to plan.
So are you comparing yourself to years past?
We can,
Okay.
but it's more kind of compared to like what you are projected for that week.
Okay.
But you can definitely look historically.
But where are these projections coming from?
Yeah, so the plan number is set in place at the beginning of our fiscal year. So we put those numbers down and they don't change. So we're looking 1 year out and we're saying...
they're goals.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we're like, okay, and we break it down by week. So it's 52 weeks of the year. We're saying, here's where we think we're going to come in at for our total sales.
Got it.
And then the forecast numbers, you can forecast a week ahead of time, 3 days ahead of time, whatever makes sense, right? And then we look at the actual. So we're always reporting on the week before.
Got it.
Yeah.
And what else happens during these meetings?
There's an info share. We go through kind of like tasks and, if there's some things throughout the meeting where somebody needs to pick up something that,
Issues.
Yeah, things that need to be completed. Yeah, so I'd say, again, info share after the numbers actually take up quite a bit of time, which is good because that's what we want. We want people to know about, and we want people to know that we all impact those numbers.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of time is spent on that DOR board.
Yeah.
But other than that, though, it's like announcements, what's going on like around the organization or what's coming up. We have like art. We just ended art fair. Like Ann Arbor Art Fair is huge, right?
Was that yesterday?
It was last Thursday, Friday,
Oh,
Saturday.
I was here yesterday. I rolled through and I saw you guys had a farmer's market.
Oh, yeah. That's our West Side Farmers Market.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not sure how we got down this path. We started talking about meetings, but I was like, this is a good opportunity. Some nuggets here, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, open book finance.
Open book finance.
Yeah.
Got it. So you're I think where we left off in your timeline, 5 years have passed. The year's 2009, and you're getting more involved.
Yes,
you're
exactly.
seeing like there might be something here for me. And is that where you became management in 2009?
Yeah. Yep. So then there was an assistant manager position that opened, and I was right like at the tail end of school, or maybe had like just graduated, and was like, I don't know that I want to be a dietitian. And then this opened up the position for assistant manager, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna go for it.
Yeah.
Why not? Like I'm kind of maturing a little bit and settling down a little bit, not being so crazy. And it was an opportunity, and I went for it, and I got it.
Nice.
And got into leadership.
What was like at this point? Are you thinking like, do you feel like you don't know what you want to do with the rest of your life? Is this just for now? Maybe you're still kind of feeling a little lost. Maybe being a nutritionist isn't
a little bit.
Is a dietitian or nutritionist?
I mean, I think they're both the same.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
What do you like to?
It's like the program is like dietetics, so I say dietitian. But I mean, I don't know if there's a difference. I guess I don't know what.
Yeah. How would you say you grew in this first 5 years as a professional? In the first 5 years? How does Zingerman's really impact who you were?
Mm-hmm. Like when I was a server.
Yeah.
Like during those first 5 years. Well, like I said, I knew I loved what it stood for, and I loved what I was getting out of it. But I wasn't taking it seriously until until I decided that I wanted to get into more of a leadership role. So
what it stood for, just to make sure I heard you right originally, was this idea of service to each other.
yeah, and just accommodating great, sincere service to our guests. Like, we care about the experience. We want them to come back. Like, we say that the restaurant can be some people's third place. So it's not their home and it's not their job, but it's where they would spend time otherwise.
Yeah.
And we want to create that third place for people.
I love that.
Yeah.
So you love this idea that you can create this space, that you can serve the community. Why do you like that? What lights up inside of you when you do that?
Yeah. Well, I learned the term ambivert. I don't know. Is that a thing these
I'm an
days?
ambivert.
Yeah.
In between extrovert and introvert.
Yeah. So I'm perfectly fine not talking to anybody and just sitting in my house or whatever in my backyard. But I can also really get the extrovert side of me going.
Yep.
And it feels good.
Yeah.
I like to be like on and engaged and talking and learning and providing and like and I identify with service. Like, it's just part of like who I am. So, yeah.
I dig that. Okay, so you're an assistant AGM, is that the title, or assistant manager?
Yeah, assistant manager.
Assistant manager.
Yeah.
What were your struggles with that, if any?
Oh my gosh. Well, a lot of times now when we build people, they express interest in leadership, a lot of times they'll come in as a supervisor and kind of like, and if they like that and identify with that, and then a manager position opens up, we kind of continue to, move them up into a manager role.
Okay.
I don't even know if we had many supervisors back then. And so I just went straight from a server, which is great. I knew the organization and I very much enjoyed where I was at, wanted to continue to work here. But then, one day I was a server and the next day I was managing and overseeing people and the everything about the entire restaurant. And I mean, I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
I had no idea. And so the discomfort of managing your friends and your peers literally from one day to the next, where you're the same person. I don't know much different than the day before, but now I have the title. Right. And like the expectation that goes along with that and the awkwardness of coaching people.
What was awkward about it?
I mean, I think coaching and giving feedback to people, for a lot, not all, but a lot of people, it can just be inherently uncomfortable. Like to tell somebody when they're not doing something right, some people, they don't want to hear it.
Yeah, right.
Some people are receptive.
How have you overcome this challenge?
I think just by doing it like over and over again and by delivering in a respectful way, by not being an asshole.
How have you gotten better at it?
By continuing, like, I don't like when people are mean or rude. And if they have something to tell me and their delivery sucks, I'm probably not going to be receptive.
Yeah.
And I know that about myself. So I try to turn that around and I'm like, hey, if I really want somebody to change something and I mean it and I'm doing it in a caring way for the right reason, delivery is everything.
So how do you deliver today?
It depends on the person, right? Some people I can take maybe I do need to be a little bit more stern.
Right.
Some people might be sensitive and I need to take them into a room and just have a heart to heart and say, hey, listen, these are some things that I'm seeing, or this is what I would like to see happen differently, or these kinds of things we can't do that, or like what have you. So I think it depends on the situation, but always coming with dignity and respect, and not talking down to people is, it's like my number one.
Right, and we hear a lot on the show, correct the process, not the person. So, like, what are the things that you're doing? Is that how we do it? Yes or no? And then you just say, hey, like, this is how you're doing it, and this is how we do it, and you correct that process. So you're not necessarily coming down on the person, as much as you're coming down on the process that they're doing something.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so you're the assistant. You're just man. What was the title? Assistant manager.
Yeah, assistant manager.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long were you doing that? From 2009 to 2000.
Yep. So I was in that role for 3.5 years.
3.5 years. And you became manager in 2014.
Yeah, no, 2009 is when I started managing.
So
and then, and I did the assistant manager role for
2012.
And then there was an opportunity for restaurant manager for that position.
Anything else worth mentioning during this 3-year period in terms of growth or, understanding the business more?
Yeah.
Challenges?
I think, and I'll still say to this day, I was just saying it yesterday to somebody, I mean, just kind of going back to the people side of it. I mean, yes. I mean, we need to know, you need to learn the food. You need to know the stories and the history, why it's important, why are we carrying this product. You know, you need to learn the
Why is it important?
Well, it's important for us.
Why is it important for you?
It's what, I mean, it's what we do. It's what Zingerman's is. I mean, it's using the highest quality ingredients to make the best tasting food, to deliver the highest level of service is what we are. That is what we are here to create, to provide to people.
Yeah, and I mean, I just finished reading Ari's latest pamphlet on dignity, and it's really a great word to use to describe what you do. What is, I mean, does Ari like force feed you guys all the pamphlets when they come out? You have to read them?
No, he probably should make us read them. No, he doesn't. But we're very familiar. I mean, we have conversation, you know, even if people aren't reading them, the conversations that we have like at our manager meeting every week and sometimes at our huddles are going to revolve in some way around some of that content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know he's been talking a lot about dignity. So how does dignity tie into what you're sharing right now in terms of what Zingerman's is and what you do?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's some of the same of what we've been talking about, and some of it can be, you know, in alignment with respect, but it's about like really like loving the people and treating them in a way that is not, do you know what I mean? Like
dignified?
That is dignified, right? That's not going to be helpful in the same. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but just respect, you know, and it's a great word, and it's just like it's dignity for everything your business touches. And the thing is, I think it's weird because we look at food as like this transactional thing of this. It's literally a commodity.
Yeah.
The food in its purest form is defined as a commodity.
Sure.
Transactional.
Right.
Raw material. Right.
Yeah.
But the reality is there's a story behind that. To your point, we have to know the stories.
Yeah.
I mean, going just to the source itself, food was once alive. It was a living thing, whether it was a plant or an animal. Right. There's a dignity to that. Give that thing dignity.
Yeah.
And then there's a story to the person who farmed that, and a story to the person who processed that.
Yes.
And we have to pay respect to and give dignity.
Yeah.
So like all these down the whole chain. Right?
The whole thing. The whole thing. Yep. The recipes, the region in which the recipe came from, the heritage, the people, all of it. Like you said, back to the plant and the
right.
Yeah.
For sure. So, how do you teach people this? And I'm sure as a manager at this point in your career, right, in the timeline 2012, it's your job to take this dignity, this respect, and pay it forward. You know, he's taught you, or the leadership taught you. Yeah. And you get to pay it forward. How do you do that?
Yeah. We, you know, during our pre-shifts, right, you know, before the shifts start, we're going to talk about specials and, again, the history, you know, where it came from. Sometimes we'll have a chef come out and talk about it. We also, it's crazy to think about, but we also used to do weekly specials and weekly specials tastings for the staff. That was, you know, required for them to come and learn about the new things that were coming out each week. We have now moved them to monthly, which makes so much more sense in every regard.
Right.
But when we bring the staff in, I mean, again, the chef is there and multiple chefs, you know, talking about their creations and, again, any historical, you know, reference or value, where the ingredients came from, why we chose those ingredients, the purveyors we're working with, and then, again, why this dish is special. Again, why did we choose it? And what we want you to know all of those things so that you can convey the specialness to the people coming in. And why someone might be paying what they're paying is because we get the highest quality ingredients out there, right?
Yeah.
So this isn't right. This isn't McDonald's. This isn't a chain. This isn't, you know, you're not going to come in and pay, you know, like $5 for something. You're going to pay for something and you're going to get what you pay for.
You mean food is expensive?
Isn't that wild? It's a wild concept.
Yeah, we kind of messed up the value of food over the past 40, 50 years, I think, for sure. But you don't wait for somebody to complain to say, why is this so expensive? You lead with, why is this so expensive?
Exactly.
So you know before you even get the meal, like this pig was Bobby. Yeah. You know, like you're eating Bobby right now. Maybe not to that
Maybe
extreme.
not right, yeah.
But when there's a story, when there's a why attached to it, it makes everything taste like you can taste that why sometimes. It's powerful.
Yeah.
I am curious, you mentioned that you went from weekly specials to monthly specials. What was the reason for that?
I mean, it requires a lot more energy and time and, the creative aspect of it, of coming up with that each week and the ordering and the production and, and then bringing the staff in and paying the staff for, 4 meetings a week when it could go to 1 meeting a week. Also, the continuity of the cooking process for the chefs, the training aspect is huge, right? Because when you just get good at doing something, all of a sudden you switch to a different menu and 8 new specials all of a sudden. So there's it made sense on a lot of different levels.
It's weird. Like, you have extremes, and I think this is something like in the mid 2010s where like everybody was like trying to like start from like almost every day they had a new menu. They'd go to the farmer's market and they would like start from scratch. And I think there's a lot of integrity in doing that, but there's also from like an execution standpoint, a real challenge of like getting people, training them on a new dish every week, and then I don't know, like there's in terms of efficiency, you can still have integrity and have ethics and business, but not make it so complicated.
Yeah, and the continuity for the guest as well, because a guest would come in and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is the best thing I've ever had here," right? And they're like, they come in 4 days later and they're like, "Where'd it go?" So it just made sense like on every level for us.
And I think you pull data from that, right? And like now you have, oh my God, this was such a hit, like this should be like a seasonal special.
Yes.
Like that.
That's exactly what's happening with us right now. We have a couple things that we've kept on now for months and months and months because they're huge. People love them. So
and I think a lot of that like daily, like it's the right thing to do in terms of like freshness and like sustainability, but there's also a lot of ego associated with it too. Like I can do like at what cost? So do you have thoughts on that, or are you just gonna cool. So back to you become a manager 2012. What were your challenges from going from supervisor or like assistant manager to manager? What was that transition like?
It's taken it the next level up. And so you're not just kind of like focusing on like the shift or like, some staff issues here and there. Now you're overseeing all of it. So my role was it was called restaurant manager intentionally. So I wasn't a general manager.
Okay.
So I didn't oversee. I've never overseen the back. Now as a managing partner, I do help with that.
Okay.
But as restaurant manager, everything was focused on the front, but everything about the front. And so it's taken it to the next level. Now I really, really, even though I should still have been paying attention to environment and the outside of the building, and now I'm very much responsible for those things. Like there's cigarette butts in the park and these trees aren't trimmed and we need to make sure that the pit looks better and is clean. Do you know what I'm saying? Now it's just taking it like that many levels up and like really overseeing more and knowing that I'm responsible for that.
Was there a struggle with this?
Not necessarily. I think I was, it's all a learning experience, but I think I was I was ready to move from server to assistant manager. I was ready to move from assistant manager.
What made you ready?
Time, maturity. I started having a family and becoming a mother.
Where was the desire to make the next step? Like, what was driving you to take that next step forward?
Well, like a lot of times, it's opportunity. Because it was, if the position wasn't available, I don't know that I would have been necessarily I can't wait to really step up to the next level. Sure, I want to continue to grow and such, but when positions open up and you're like,
puts it into your head.
Oh, I know, right? Yeah. And this is another one that's really big for me is planting a seed. So somebody planted a seed, actually, with this exact scenario. The previous managing partner here, when we were talking about that the position was going to be open.
The managing position.
The managing partner at that time.
Oh, okay.
And I was an assistant.
When you say the position, you're talking about the managing partner was telling you about the management position that was opening.
Sorry.
Okay.
So the managing partner was telling me about the restaurant manager position that was going to be opening.
Going from supervisor to manager.
Going from assistant manager, and then now restaurant manager position is going to be opening up.
And he planted that sheet.
And he was like, I think you should be the next restaurant manager. And I was like,
oh,
really?
Tell me more.
I know, right? Do you really? But honestly, I'll never forget that and the importance of planting seeds.
Did he tell you why?
I don't know that we had a lengthy conversation around it all. And honestly, it might have, he was kind of short-winded. So I think he just said that. And I just took it. And I don't. And I ended up going with it.
What about, so when you went from server to assistant manager, Was there a pay cut? Were you making less money?
That's a great question. I think so. I think there was. I mean, I could make pretty good money as a server.
Right. I would imagine.
And I mean, yeah, and even then, you know.
So what would incentivize you to take that cut?
Yeah. Again, leadership or gaining leadership experience, looking more toward my future. You know, I wasn't like so concerned about.
Right.
I mean, whether I should have been or not. You know, it's like I'm not really thinking about 3 years down the road. I'm thinking about, you know, the next day.
Right.
So I think I was just like more settled, more mature, looking toward the future, looking like what that looks like.
Right.
Like if I put this time in and I learn and.
It's a short-term loss for a long-term potential gain, which in 3 years you went from server to restaurant manager. And I'm sure from those two perspectives, was there an increase in pay?
Yeah, eventually. Like once I got to restaurant manager, then it was definitely
right. So it's a 3-year
increase.
Sacrifice to learn the skills to be able to go on and do more with your career. At this point, are you saying to yourself, I want to work in restaurants for the rest of my life?
Well, that's a great question. I think I was on my way, and then eventually, once I was in that role, because I was in that role for 10 years before I became managing partner, which was just a year and a half ago. At some point in those 10 years, probably halfway in, I thought about managing partnership.
When did that come into your mind, if you had a guess?
Yeah. I think, I mean, I think I was, let's say, like 4 or 5 years into me being in that role.
So when did you know that was even a possibility for you?
Well, it wasn't because I expressed interest to the previous managing partner and got whereas before when he planted the seed, this time when I'm like, oh, like I would be interested in being like a managing partner with you.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I mean, he didn't say no, but he was just like, okay. Like
noted. Seed planted.
Yeah. All right. I'm like, now I'm planting a seed. Is this gonna like come to fruition or like? Yeah.
How did you water that seed?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it wasn't met with resistance, but it wasn't. I don't know. There wasn't much follow up or enthusiasm around that, and so.
How'd that make you feel?
I mean, not good. You know, like I still enjoy my job. I still love what I do. I love this restaurant. I've always kind of said, as much as I do love hospitality, like I love this restaurant and I love this organization. And honestly, I don't know that I would go and be.
Love is a strong word.
It is.
So, so from 2004 to 2000, we'll call it 19 is when 5 years in. 2018, 17 is where you're like starting to plant the seed.
Yeah.
And you really want this and you love this restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
How did your emotions for the restaurant go from I really like working here to I love you? And what did that look like?
Well, so just to finish though, I was going to say that I don't think that I would work in another restaurant. And that's where I kind of came with, I love this restaurant. Right. I don't know that I would honestly want to do this in another restaurant.
Unpackage that.
Well, yeah, like I said, this is the restaurant for me. Once I came into this environment and I really identified with it and I really enjoyed and felt like I could prosper and grow and learn for myself and with other people.
How were you growing and learning to make you think that was going to continue to happen?
Well, there's a lot of things about this organization and a lot of the stuff that you've been reading with Ari and when people ask me, what do you enjoy about this job? One of the things I like most about working here and in this organization is that a lot of the things that we talk about and learn won't just help me prosper and improve here, but I can take that to other parts of my life and help improve lots of different aspects of my life and other people.
How have you improved in the time that you've been here? How have you gotten better as a person?
Yeah. I think learning about me and where I thrive and knowing that I like to help other people to be their best as well, to provide the better service, to learn whatever it is that they're interested in, to sit down and like you were talking about, like, what is going on with you? Maybe it's not even about Zingerman's right now, right? Like, how are you? What's going on in your life? What can I do for you? Kind of a thing. Like, I love that. And we care.
Yeah.
And a lot of places don't.
There's a lot of magic in that.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things, our mission statement here at Restaurant Unstoppable is to change the world through inspiring, empowering the restaurant industry. And a lot of
That's
that,
powerful.
Yeah, and that power, I think the restaurant industry has the power to change the world. That's
Yeah.
the thing. And I
Yeah.
don't think we realize it yet.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
so
yeah.
ignorant to it. We're like,
Yeah.
oh, we're just the restaurant industry.
Right.
We are the closest thing to communities.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we have transformative power. We take people who are 17, 16, 15 years old sometimes,
Yeah.
and we give them ethics, values.
Yeah.
We listen to them. We understand them.
hard work.
We help them understand themselves.
Yeah.
And give them self-awareness
Yeah.
by giving them feedback. And
Yeah.
that, like, we have transformative power. And what you are a shining example. The output of what happens when you have a restaurant that has a mission, a greater mission to transform a community, because it starts with the person behind, or the people behind the restaurant, and it ripples out to the people they bring on, the staff, and
Yeah.
that ripples out
Yeah.
to the communities. You're educating them on the values of food, right? And you're educating the community on the value of food, and you're listening and saying, what are you good at? Like, oh, this is what you're good at. Like, here's a path, a vertical path for you to grow as a person, and you wouldn't be self-aware of that if
Right.
you didn't have somebody giving you that feedback.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to go on this much of a tear,
Yeah.
but this is
Yeah,
why I
yeah,
love
yeah.
what Zingerman's is doing.
Yeah.
It's like we need to. This is how we're going to change the world, by making an
Yeah.
example of organizations.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
what's going through your mind? What as
Yeah.
I'm tearing.
No, yeah, no, I was just going to say, I think that we do know that. Now, the delivery is a different aspect, right? Like, we're also a restaurant, and we're also human, and we also have, like, the greatest of intentions, but, you know, we have our shortcomings as well. So it is very powerful, our mission, and knowing what we want, and we're just still trying to ever improve. So
Right.
we call it GNP here, gentle, never-ending pressure.
Yeah, it's that infinite game. It's never over.
Right.
There's no finish
Yeah.
line.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
us versus us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
So so you made the statement, you planted the seed. I would like to be a partner someday. And he received this message.
Yeah.
Were you living different? Like, were you showing up differently from 2017 to 2022 when they offered you partnership?
Yeah, so what happened was that Chef Alex Young opened the restaurant back in 2003, and I'd worked with him for a very long time. And when I was on my third maternity leave, I decided that I wasn't going to work here anymore. I was not happy. I expressed the interest in potentially being a partner and wanting to continue to
But
grow.
you loved this restaurant.
I do love this restaurant,
Yeah.
and I love it even more now as a managing partner. Like, just now that I've been, do you know what I'm saying? Like, after time
Yeah.
and after being growing into
What were you
this role.
feeling? Yeah, go back into
So,
that moment when you're
yeah.
like, maybe this
Well,
isn't for me.
The defining moment was on that third maternity leave. While I said, I'm going to start looking for something else, I got a phone call from Ari. And he said, and I was like, why is Ari calling me? Because I'm very close, and I work very closely with Ari. I didn't work as closely with him then. And so when I saw that he was calling me, I was like, oh, God, what's happening? I'm on maternity
What did I
leave.
do?
I know. What am I, like, I'm not even, what's
Right.
happening? And he said that Chef Alex was leaving. And I said, oh, now I'm going to stay. Now there's going to be opportunity, and now I'm reinvigorated and reinvested, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to work toward and talk about
Got
and
it.
figure out how then to start my path
Okay.
eventually, you know, after some time. But yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I won't make you unpackage that anymore.
Yeah.
But so now like you're reinvigorated, right? And at this point, did Ari offer you partnership, or was he just saying?
We had conversation. You know,
Okay.
it was kind of like, are you interested? What, here we are. So Alex has left. And without a managing partner, well, there's no fill-in except Ari.
Right.
So Ari steps in, as managing partner.
Got it.
We needed somebody to run do you know what I'm saying? To
Yeah,
function
yeah.
And act as
You gotta move people
in
up.
that leadership role, right? And so he stepped in, and he and I right now are still co-managing partners. Currently, even though I've been in the role for about a year and a half, and eventually he'll kind of move on, and as he already kind of is.
Yeah. Is there a cap at how many managing partners each restaurant can have?
No, I don't think there's a cap. I think it just needs to make sense in terms of the business. Yeah, fiscally, and like, if we do want to bring on another one, like how are we going to expand to make it make sense too? Do you know what I mean? Do we need more than one?
Right.
What is the benefit? If we do bring on another person, what are we going to do to like
how's
make
that going to affect the bottom line?
Exactly. And our offerings, and there needs to be some kind of expansion of some sort to have it make sense to
In the world, we live in this dynamic world. So maybe 10 years from now, 75% of all orders are out like delivery or pickup, right? And there's this whole new world of technology that you guys have to figure out. Maybe the operating partner that you bring on then is like a tech nerd or something,
right?
And they can figure it out. Who knows? I'm just painting out a random scenario.
Sure.
So back before we get into like what it was like to become a partner and what that transformation or that transition was like, your period as a manager from 2013 to 2012 to 2022, 10-year period, where you're a manager. Any other like points of evolution, struggles, challenges that come to mind for you personally?
Well, for me personally and for the restaurant, I mean, I think it's, and we kind of talked about it, but it's retention, retention on all levels, because some people, come into restaurant jobs, especially in like the more entry-level positions, and, they might be still in high school, like you said, they might be in college, they're doing it with another job, it might not be their long-term goal, kind of like when I started out, I didn't think I was going to be in restaurants for 20 years.
Yeah, it's our job to convert people.
Right, exactly. So I think, life happens, and the restaurant industry is not for everybody.
Right.
As much as you can benefit from it, and as much as I feel like everyone could benefit from at one point in their life working in the industry in some capacity, right? The things that you're saying, the life lessons that you can learn and take with you. It's not for everybody. And restaurant leadership is very much not for everybody. It's hard. It's challenging. It's managing people, managing the guest experience and the food, and there's so many facets to the industry in a wonderful way. But it's not everyone is good or has the desire or wants to thrive in this environment. So it's hard to keep teams and to grow teams with it can be especially if people are kind of departing faster than you'd like them to.
Yeah, and I think I did a little bit of research. I think I remember reading something about your challenge post-pandemic. You had to lay off 80% of your staff. Not lay off, but furlough 80% of your staff. And then not everybody came back when things opened back up. So you were short, and that was a challenge for you. So,
big time. Yeah.
Going from this staple in Ann Arbor, Zingerman's brand, staple, it would probably, you have a higher than usual retention rate, right, compared to other restaurants.
In general. Compared to other restaurants. It's still high, but compared to other restaurants,
Post-pandemic, even if you were at the top, like no matter who you were, it was a challenge.
Big, huge.
So
huge.
How'd you overcome that challenge?
We hired a lot of people in high school.
Okay.
I'm serious. We hired a lot of youngsters.
What was that like for you?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's fun. It has its own set of challenges because it might be a lot of people's first time job, and so they really, really don't.
Right, and you get to be that. I think it's again so powerful how being that first impression of a professional workplace.
Yeah.
Think about how many restaurants there are that aren't the most professional places.
Right.
That are negatively influencing the next generation of professionals. Right.
And it's sad, but yes.
But if we get on the same page and we get to this place of like lifting each other up and empowerment and dignity to the food, dignity to the community, dignity to the guests.
Yep.
We get that's exciting for me to think that we can do that.
No. 100%.
Yeah.
Me too. So there's, and I sometimes sit and realize that that I'm going to work with, people of all ages, but with certainly with high school and college age children, people, for the rest of my life.
They might be fully grown.
I mean, right, like, right. For the
frontal lobe
probably
still runs off until your late 20s.
Right.
Remember you were a partier when you were wild back in your 20s?
Yeah, barely. But
we're not fully grown until we're 30. Let's be honest.
Yeah. No, that's about right. It all matches up exactly with these timelines.
What up, Unstoppable restaurant owners and operators? We have to interrupt today's video to let you know that Restaurant Unstoppable and Restaurant Systems Pro, we're taking our relationship to the next level. Beginning in July of 2024, Fred Langley, CEO of Restaurant Systems Pro, is making himself available once a week in Restaurant Unstoppable Network to answer all of your restaurant systems questions, whether it's be profit margins. He will look at your P&L. Bring your P&L. He will take a look at that. He will dissect it. He will help you find your profit, whether that be through budgeting, inventory management, costing recipe cards, labor, checklists, you name it. He is a master of restaurant systems, and he's making himself available to you. Fred Langley and Restaurant Systems Pros started as a consulting firm, and for over 16 years, they've been helping their clients increase their profit by 10% or more. What are you waiting for? Click the link below to join our Facebook group, Restaurant Unstoppable Network.
But that, which, am I okay with that? And the answer is yes. I enjoy working with people of all ages, but I do enjoy working with youth and with younger people.
What do you enjoy the most about it?
I think some of what we've been talking about, just impression and being able to help, to coach, to teach. Like you said, if this is their first restaurant job, and they do go on to other restaurants, which there are many wonderful restaurants, and there's a lot of not great restaurants out there.
But they come back. A lot of them probably come back, don't they?
They do for, right, like, yes, for summers.
It's always greener on the other side.
Yeah, right. Certainly, if we have, like, students, then they've enjoyed their work experience here, we'll get them back for breaks and for summers and stuff like that. Yeah. But, yeah, people come back. And I do. I enjoy teaching. I enjoy teaching them and showing them and having them be in this environment where they're learning service. They're learning what it means to be respectful, to accommodate, to learn those like 3 steps to great service that we really, hold everybody to. And just to create a great experience, like you said, for the community, for people that they want to come here. We get the repeat patronage.
Yeah. And I did tag you as somebody who is an expert on teaching service, right?
Oh.
So what is that service? Give us some lessons on service. Like, what does your training look like for service?
Yeah.
When you're training your new staff.
Yeah. Well, we have lots of different ways in which we train new staff. And we do have the 3 Steps to Great Service, the book that Ari wrote, which is kind of the basis and the foundation of how we deliver. And, I mean, some of it's basic and some of it isn't.
What are the 3 steps to service?
Mm-hmm. So it's finding out what the guest wants, getting it for them accurately, politely, and enthusiastically, and then going the extra mile.
Okay, so break that down. First one, step 1.
Yeah, I mean, it's that engagement. Like, Why did someone come here? Are they a first-time guest? Have they been here 1,000 times? What is it, their birthday? Is it their anniversary? Are they gluten-free? Are they a vegan? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's finding these things out.
So the first step is get the guest what they want.
It's find out what they want. Find out what they want.
So you're not just finding out literally what they want to eat. You're being receptive to like what's the experience you're trying to get.
Yeah.
Are you on a date? Are you on a business meeting? Like what? Like so you're being receptive. So get more into that.
Yeah. And some of it is trying to collect information ahead of time. So we had a cute couple last night that they had just gotten engaged earlier in the day, and they called in to make the reservation, and they let us know we got engaged. I think maybe Ari had some contact or some part of it as well. But we had all of this information ahead of time, and so we were able to put. Now you see, this restaurant is not a white tablecloth. We're not fine dining. Our prices maybe, but there's not white tablecloths everywhere.
Right. Casual
but we have white tablecloths, right? When we do events and when we need them for certain things. So we at their booth we put down a white tablecloth and everything ahead of time, and we put flowers. We got flowers and put them on the table, and we created an exceptional experience for somebody because we did get a little bit of information ahead of time that would allow us to do that.
Yeah, it's the unexpected, right? And it's what Will Guidara calls unreasonable hospitality.
Right.
It's like, why would you do that? It's so unnecessary,
right.
unreasonable. Well, now you'll remember.
Right, exactly.
Right? It's powerful.
Yeah.
So the first thing is to find out what they want,
yep.
and the next thing is to get them what they want.
Yep.
So what does that look like? Getting them what they want? Is it just accurate? Like, is it?
Yeah. So it's the accurate, politely, and enthusiastic. So we we have all kinds of fun terms and like kind of phrases here, but so we call it being zingy, right? And we're like, if someone isn't like enthusiastic enough, we're like we want you to be more zingy,
okay.
Right? We want you to be like deliver a service with enthusiasm, not just get it right, but to get it right and be the respect, dignity, polite part of it with enthusiasm, right? And not everybody can bring all those things.
So how do you keep people enthusiastic? Is there a way to like keep that energy high?
I mean, I would say encouragement, coaching, and creating a fun work environment.
Right.
I mean, I want this restaurant to be fun.
Right.
And we do have fun. I mean, not that things don't go awry, and not that we don't have challenging shifts, and not that we, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like we go back to that like party aspect, like let's deliver great food and great service and have a great time doing it. You know, it's
I think it has to be top down. That enthusiasm has to be top down. So if you're not showing up enthusiastically, and like your
100%.
enthusiasm isn't spilling over to the employee, then how do you expect it to spill over to the guest? So how do you stay enthusiastic?
I mean, I feel like, again, when I get my extroverted side out, honestly, that's a good question. I remember being a younger manager, and I remember sometimes when Ari would come in into some of our meetings and kind of try to frame things like we've been talking about. Like, let's pretend like this is your party. And how would that change in your mind and how you deliver and how you engage with people if you think here's an establishment that I'm managing and I may or may not know the people and like welcome in instead of, hey, like this is my like essentially my home, like not really, but like I know, right? Like how are you? Welcome. Like what can I get for you? Like it changes things if you think of it like in that context. And it helped me. And it helped me to like, because again, I can be very introverted and not enthusiastic in my own quiet time.
Your poor husband, he must get home from work and just go, leave me alone.
He's down in his studio having fun,
I need to
doing
recharge.
streaming, doing something fun down there, creating music. What are we talking about?
Enthusiasm.
Oh yeah. So at some point, and I've also been afforded, which is fantastic. Dale Carnegie was huge for me.
How to win friends and influence people.
Yeah, I mean the public talking aspect. I mean you get lots of things out of it, and people get out of it what they want.
Oh, so you went through a course.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I did the full like in person. Yep.
Where
Before
was
the
that?
pandemic. It was here in Ann Arbor at a hotel.
Cool.
Yeah, and they still offer it around here. It's great.
What was your biggest takeaway from that?
I think trying to get comfortable with being in the spotlight, which I can go back and forth with, but it's also like I'm the host, not just me, but right, like in my mind, like I'm the host. I'm responsible for whether these people have a good time or not.
Right.
I'm responsible for whether our staff have a good work experience. Like model, like you said. People are looking at me. If I'm not modeling this behavior, well, why would they?
Right.
You know what I mean?
So was it wrapping your mind around that where Dale Carnegie came in, or?
I think it was the comfort. I honestly, I can't stand public speaking. Like it ties me in a knot, makes me want to go hide in a corner. Like I don't. Do you know what I mean?
Hey, you're
like,
doing great.
Yeah. Oh well, thank you. But I've learned to do this.
Yeah.
This is not how I was as a 18-year-old was not this. You know what I'm saying? But being in hospitality, wanting to be in hospitality, knowing what that looks like when somebody is engaging and cares, right? Like you're exuding like positive energy. Like I'm drawn to that. I want people to be drawn to that too.
Right.
So I've just worked on that over the years a lot.
Right.
A lot.
And I know Ari wrote a book on service, like steps of service, how to take accurate orders and all that stuff. But give us a little nugget, because you said it's accurate, polite, enthusiastic.
Yep.
I think was step 2, get that guess what they want. So how do you do it accurately? How do you train your staff how to get accurate orders?
Yeah, so we have the 4 steps to order accuracy here. So we have lots of recipes and things that we can like help people to be successful and to make sure that we're providing what we say that we're going to provide for them. So
what's the first step of order accuracy?
Read back.
Putting you on the spot here.
I know. I'm like, I'm gonna like. I do know it.
Well, I think it's a lot of closed loop communication.
Yeah. Anyway, it is making sure that it's basically double checking, reading back, confirming upon delivery. It's like pre-check, recheck, and confirm. Like
it's a lot of what I learned as a commercial pilot, where like it's not enough just to listen. You have to read it back. So you take the order. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yes.
And then you read it back.
Yeah.
Is this what you got? Cool.
Yeah.
And I think you do that like 3 times. Like I think it happens at the maybe, I don't know. I don't want to fill in the blanks. So
Yeah. No, it is. So it's taking the order, reading it back, like double checking it, like on your screen, like is it accurate?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't usually. Our system's a little different now, but And then when we drop food, we are also we try not to auction food.
Right.
And we want to know where we're setting it, but we're also saying what it is.
Right.
So then if the guest is like, I didn't get a burger, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
So yeah, you're confirming when you're dropping it off.
Yeah,
you know who it
upon.
belongs to,
Yeah.
but as you're putting it on the table in front of them,
Yeah.
you're saying, burger, no cheese, hold the lettuce.
Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
like that. So
Yeah.
we're like, yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So we put a lot of emphasis on that. The next step is where I think is what really sets us apart, though. So taking it to step 3, which is the extra mile.
What is that?
So this is doing a little something extra for the guests that they don't ask for.
Okay.
So it is creating, like we talked about, creating that memorable experience. What did we do that most, or probably any restaurants, wouldn't do for you, to where you thought when you were going to go out to eat, next week, you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, do you remember when we went to Zingerman's and they they did put flowers on our table for our anniversary, or they made special menus because we print menus
Right.
every day, so we can put little things on there like happy anniversary or happy
Right.
birthday, personalizing things that they're like, oh yeah, that was so sweet when they did that. Let's go back to Zingerman's, right?
Yeah.
Like we obviously, right? We want to get that repeat,
So how do you go the extra mile? Is it just
Yeah.
training? Like, how do you train your staff to go the extra mile?
Yeah. So there's tons of things. We call them, we can do low cost extra miles. There's no cost extra miles. Sometimes we are just which is fine. Sometimes we are buying an appetizer or buying dessert for somebody. It's their anniversary, it's their birthday, they're a VIP. But again, it's doing something extra that the guests didn't ask for. So if they got, they ordered our pulled pork with a certain barbecue sauce, and we thought, oh, I'm going to add another sauce as well because I thought they might like to try it. And so then when you bring the plate, you're like, oh, hey, I added on a different sauce just because I thought you might want to try this one too.
That's a
since
low
you like
cost,
this.
right? That's
those
25
are like the low
cents,
cost. Yeah,
right.
Those are the low cost. Yeah.
So it's just like, and also I think it's like reading between the lines, right? So you're 86 breakfast.
Yeah.
Breakfast is
86 breakfast. Yeah.
over. So you're basically, what I'm hearing is like you're engaging them, you're taking their order, but you're also taking their energy. You're taking you're taking in the conversation, the human side of things.
Yeah.
And you're looking for ways to like go above and beyond just what they asked for.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it could be an infinite amount of things.
It can be a million things.
Right.
One of the cute ones that like Ari, I haven't seen him do in a little while, but like if a kid would bring in like a stuffed animal, right? They're like a 3-year-old and they have like a pet bunny or something, is grabbing like a ramekin full of like julienne like carrots and bringing them out and being like, oh, here, this is for your rabbit. Right? Right. That's also like a low cost, right? And then they're like, oh my gosh, like my bunny has something to eat. Like, it's cute, but I mean,
Customer
it can be
for life.
It can be exactly right. Yeah, we call those evergreens. Yeah, it's like promoters for life.
I love that.
Yeah, we want to create promoters. We want to create those evergreens.
Right.
Yeah.
Give me a story of a time that you what's your favorite personal time that you went above and beyond?
I mean, I think there's.
With the extra mile.
I think there's I think there's a lot. Like I said, well, one thing that we do, not super often, but we can. So if somebody, and we've definitely done it over the years. So if someone comes in and they're like, I want, I would like orange pop, and we're like, oh, I'm so sorry, we don't carry orange pop, and they're like, well, I would really like some orange pop, and we're like, now, granted, somebody is saying, I really want that orange pop, right?
Yeah.
But instead of saying, I'm sorry, unfortunately, we don't carry that, we go to the store.
Yeah.
We go buy orange pop. We
Right.
go the other, like only a couple weeks ago, with one of the servers that's here right now, we ran out of chocolate chips, and we have chocolate chip pancakes on our menu, and we were like, I'm so sorry, we're out of the chocolate chips, and they were like, oh man, I really wanted those chocolate chip pancakes, and we were like, okay,
go smash a Hershey bar.
So we went, right. Well, I mean, someone ran down to Kroger, and like not too far from here, got chocolate chips and brought it back, and now we've got your chocolate chip pancakes for you. It's
really not that hard to do those things. And
it's not. It's not.
Like, oh, it's not possible right now in this moment immediately, but it is possible. It's really not that hard to go the extra mile.
I mean, unless
even an extra inch is appreciated.
Totally. No, and people most people are recognizing that, and they're like, wow, I've never been to a restaurant that did that. And we're like, oh, we do.
I love that.
Yeah.
So the year is 2022. Ari calls Were you? Is this when you were on maternity leave?
So
or?
that was it was 2017 when I was on leave,
Okay.
and that's when I got the call of that chef was leaving.
All right.
And that's when I was like, okay. I was like, all right. And then we continued conversation and got more serious about it, and then decided I was going to jump in and what that looked like. And then got the information and the paperwork on like what that path looks like.
Yeah.
So we call it the path to partnership.
So what I'm really excited about, and really somebody recently said to me, Eric, you have so much experience, and I corrected them. I say I don't. I have a lot of perspective.
Yeah.
Because I get to talk to a lot of people who
Sure.
have a lot of experience.
Yeah.
And I get to get the perspective from all those different people, and I don't get to talk to a lot of people who have come up in an organization, who's really kind of set the standard in terms of like operating partners and really embracing this idea of partnerships and going further together and really making a dent in a community, right? So I would love to make an example through your story in Zingerman's, like what it's like to become a partner in an organization. Like, I mean, what were those challenges for you going from manager to operating partner, having equity in the business, how to do it right? Like, what can you teach us through your experiences?
Yeah. I mean, again, I think I was ready to kind of take the leap and was grateful for the opportunity, and that somebody, again, was like planting a seed and having that conversation. And, was I really ready? And is this really what I really wanted? Because, I feel like this is probably going to be the last job I have. I mean, maybe not,
right.
but I'm anticipating that.
Right.
So yeah, somebody took a chance on me. I was ready to even go that next level up, right? So we talked about going from like a assistant manager to restaurant manager and like how different that was. And now it's really overseeing all the operations, right? It's not just overseeing the front. It's not just taking a couple like steps back and knowing that I have quite a bit more responsibility on my plate. Now it's like, okay, this is your business.
Yeah, you
like,
own
this
it.
is right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a personal stake in the financial stake in this, which I mean very much changes things in a good way. And
How did it change in a good way for you?
I mean, I think yet again, that much more like maturity, experience here and life experience. I have 3 children, and that comes with its own set of challenges and its own wonderful things. And sometimes it can feel in a good way or not a good way, where there's lots of other children that I have here.
Right.
And sometimes
especially when you're hiring for high school.
yeah, exactly. Sometimes it's in a family context, and sometimes it's in a parental context.
Yeah.
But again, do I want to do this the rest of my life? Is this where I thrive? Is this where I'm happy? And the answer is yes. Or I wouldn't have taken the wouldn't
What
have
makes
continued.
you happy?
I mean, I think a lot of the stuff we've been talking about, just like the camaraderie, like I said, like continuing to teach and give people tools that will help them to be successful here, but not just here. Like, that's just really important, and most places of business don't operate in that way or don't provide those type of things, especially in restaurants.
Right.
And so like I love that. And love is a strong word, but I love that. That's unique. That's impactful. That feels
good.
It feels good. That's the community side of it. Like, we share, we teach, we grow, we do it together. Like,
right.
You don't get that. You don't get that in a lot of places.
Are you able to share with us more of like the nitty gritty of how you structure, like what does it look like to go from like working into managing partner in terms of like the legalities, the steps, and all those sorts of things?
No, for sure. Yeah. So our path, I mean, there's lots of components to it, but there's a lot of like prerequisite, like, because we have a lot of internal classes that we teach as like part of our training, not just Zing Train, but as like part of the training process for all the different businesses. So like, do you teach a class? Have you done a BLC? So BLC, I'm not sure if you've read that, of some of Ari's books, Bottom Line Change, right. So when we follow that recipe for implementing change within the restaurant or organization. So like, have you written a BLC? Have you taken, there's something really cool also internally to help develop leadership skills called the Leadership Development Program. And it is for leaders, up and coming leaders, managers, or just somebody who wants to retake it and get refreshed. But that is an option for people to take advantage of, and it happens once a year, and we usually get 8 to 15 people in there. So have you taken the leadership development program?
Oh, these are all qualifications to become a partner? Things
Yeah,
you
you need
to
it. They're kind of like prereqs. Like,
Got it.
have you done all these things? You kind of check in the boxes, And
Got it.
and I, by the time, because I had been here for quite some time before I decided and got on the path. So a lot of that stuff I had already done, which was good.
Got it.
One of the biggest pieces of it, aside from the financial piece, is writing a vision. So we're big on visioning. Ari also writes a ton on visioning. We use visioning all the time in all the businesses. But it's writing a vision for what I see for this restaurant in the future.
And your role within that, what you
Yeah.
see?
Yes.
So is there like a right or wrong vision? Is he trying to see if you have the same vision?
No, it's not right or wrong. It's just like, now if you see yourself in an ownership capacity, and you see what this is. Now, there are some people that are creating new businesses. I was in a unique position where I was taking over an existing business. So that's, just different in different regards. But now I'm working with something that's already been here.
Right.
I'm not
somebody else's vision.
Somebody else's vision. Absolutely, yeah. And I'm grateful that somebody had that vision that I'm able to continue
Whose
to carry
vision
on.
was this?
Alex Young.
Alex Young. Okay, got
Yeah.
it. And what was that like, taking someone else's vision and making it your own?
I mean, honestly, it was, there's a level of comfort there, but also just because I've worked here for so long, and then, knowing that it was somebody else's creation, but knowing that I helped to grow it the entire
Right.
time too. I'd
Right.
been here from almost the beginning.
Right.
And so,
when
maybe
was the beginning? 2003, 2002?
2003.
Got it.
Yep. September 15th, 2003. Yep.
Got it.
Yep. We just had our 20-year last
That's
September.
exciting.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So I think there's a level of comfort there, like I said. And then like opportunity as well, right? Like where do I see this restaurant? Where do I see this restaurant in the future? Do we look the same? Is it drastically different? Are we going to bring in another type of cuisine?
Yeah.
Are we going to take on a different type of service? You know what I mean? Like what
was
look
your
like?
vision?
Honestly, my vision was to continue building on what we have and continuing to everything that we have always like envisioned for ourselves and been visioning on. It's to get, to continue with consistency and to continue to be as best as we can with what we've been doing. In all honesty, there wasn't a ton of like new things or like, things that people were like, oh, geez, like I didn't know this is what you wanted, like for the future of this restaurant. It was really like, we have a really good thing going and I want to keep that really good thing going. And I want that we need that consistency, right? We need like people to have that wonderful experience over and over and over. And for them to every time be like, wow, they keep getting it right. Like,
so was there anything that you were proposing to change to keep it consistent? I know that sounds kind of like an oxymoron. Change to consist.
Well, so coming out of the pandemic, right, we have our service standards they're well documented, and we have a pretty decent training program. Coming out of the pandemic, like everywhere probably in the world, was very challenging. We talked about, we did bring in a lot of new staff, like out of necessity, and a lot of them were young.
Yeah.
And then same with the serving staff. Like we brought a lot of servers on that maybe had some serving experience, but maybe not a lot. And then there was, again, just the leadership team was either young or small. I remember coming out of the pandemic, I was running Friday and Saturday nights by myself with 5 servers, this entire restaurant.
Wow.
And that's when people were coming out. They're like, it's toward the end of
Chopping
the
at the
pandemic.
bit.
They're like, we want to get back out
Give me
there.
some of that good people energy again.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? Good food, right? Yeah, people,
Yeah,
right? Exactly.
yeah.
That was hard.
I bet.
That was hard. I was running my ass off.
Back to the good old days, right?
Yeah. What were we talking about?
We're talking about like your vision to stay consistent, right?
Yes. Yeah. So it was challenging, and it honestly, it still is. We're still in this period of trying to get back to the good old days.
Right.
Get back to what we provide. Not exactly, right? Like there's still some things that are like are changing and adapting
20
in a good
years
way.
is a hard thing to do. Let's just make that clear.
Yeah.
10 years is a hard thing to do.
Right.
5 years is
Right.
a hard thing to do.
Right.
To keep a brand fresh for 20 years, top of mind, relevant, is not
Yeah.
easy.
Right.
So how in your vision, did you have a plan to stay top of mind, to stay relevant, or was it just leaning more into what you were already doing right?
A lot of it was focused on leaning into what we're doing right, but continuing to like get right, like get back to like making sure like are we extra miling all of our tables?
Yeah.
Are we telling the history behind the food?
Do you think you got away from that?
Oh yeah, big time.
Why?
The pandemic.
You lost a lot of your people.
Lost a lot of people.
The culture.
Bringing in new people.
Yeah.
Trying to reinvent, ourselves and get back to what it was.
Yeah. And I don't think you're on an island there, because
No.
that was any legacy brand that survived the pandemic had to rebuild the culture. The culture didn't go anywhere, but the culture isn't what you put on paper. It's what the people are doing every day.
Exactly.
And to take people who weren't of your culture and to bring them into embed those values into them takes time and energy. It's not like hitting a switch.
Right.
You have to.
Right.
It's work.
A lot of work. And so bringing in new frontline staff, but then also new managers. And then same thing. I mean, it's not like they come in and they just know,
Right.
like they hadn't worked here either. So it's like, it's been challenging and fun and inspiring and all of the things, but it's been a challenge, and we're still on this kind of upward trajectory of trying to still bring back and make sure, like I said, we're telling the stories. We're doing the extra miles. We're thinking about those things, not just like you said, not just the transactional experience, but like creating this bigger thing we're still working on kind of getting back to that.
Yeah, I am interested in the structure of the partnership program, a little bit, like the details of that. So, for an example, I had Uptown Social on the show. They're based in Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay.
And they're a part of a greater restaurant group, which is escaping my mind right now. But the way that they do it is they don't just say like, hey, you get equity, you get equity, you get equity. It's like, you're really going to be the right person, which I get that from this organization.
Yeah.
But also, what they'll do is they'll say, okay, we're going to do the EBITDA of this business.
Yeah.
We're going to find out what the value of say this business is worth $10,000.
Yeah.
Or not $10,000, $10 million, right? Or whatever it might be. It's worth $5 million. You as a 25-year-old, 30-year-old might not have, what's 1% of $5 million, right? I should have used. Let's just use $1 million.
Yeah.
$100,000 or $10,000, right? You have to come up with $10,000.
Yeah.
Is that 1% of $1 million?
I
don't even know. I think that 10,000 is 1% of $1 million, right?
I don't know.
100. Yeah, because the 100,000 would be 10%. So 1%.
Yeah, 10
is $10,000.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm not good at math. There's a reason why I'm not a commercial pilot anymore. So most 30-year-olds can come up with $10,000, right? To get 1% equity in the business.
Right.
So if you want to become a partner, you have to put up, the cash to buy the value of that equity.
Yeah.
Is that similar here? Or do you? Okay.
Yeah, it is similar. And it's trying to figure out, because we did have, like when we started the restaurant, we worked with investors. We needed investors, and not all businesses start that way. But we did. So we have like our, kind of Class A and Class B, and Paul and Ari have ownership in each of the businesses.
What do you mean by Class A, Class B?
Class A are like the main, like, so Paul and Ari are the
only two Class A.
And now I am, but
okay.
And it used
is
to be
that for every organization, or for every business under the Zingermans?
No, they're different. Some are C corps, some are LLCs. Some have investors, some don't have investors. They all kind of start in different ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you're saying Class A, Class B, I'm not really familiar.
Yeah. So the I don't know if it's like standard. I'm not familiar with anything but what I've learned through this one. But like the Class B investors are like the outside investors, that put up cash initially to get the restaurant up and going.
Got it. And they're just silent partners.
Yeah, exactly. And then Paul, it used to be called Roadhouse operators because it was Alex, and then Paul and Ari. Those were the Roadhouse operators.
Got it.
And they're the Class A, the majority, right? It's like
so they're putting cash and sweat equity in.
Yes.
Because
and it's more like at like 65% them, 30 whatever percent for the Class B as kind of like the at least for here.
So now you're in the Class.
I'm in the Class A. Yeah.
So you bought into that 65%.
I did.
Got it.
Yeah.
And of that 65%, that's just equity in the business, right? Or is that profit? Like like I don't know.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. So, if we get distributions, I mean, it depends, right? Like, so in terms of profitability of the business, I mean, honestly, we've been struggling with profitability the last couple of years.
You and everybody.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And some of the, the different Zingerman's businesses all have different, like, kind of specialties and focuses. So some of the different businesses are doing very, very well. We haven't been the most profitable. Food costs and labor hasn't been fantastic,
Right.
but we have been making
You're
huge
also,
strides with
I
that.
think the only full service business under the Zingerman's brand.
We do have Miss Kim.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Korean street food. Fantastic. If you haven't gone there,
I haven't.
you should before you leave.
I should. You're right.
Yeah. It's delicious. But she has a full Ji-Hae Kim. She has a full experience, full
Got it.
dining experience.
Got it.
Full service restaurant.
So, I had another question. I lost it. So, what about in terms of like tenure with the organization to become a partner? What's that look like?
Yeah, so again, mine was kind of a unique position because, I mean, the businesses started somewhere, right? So a lot of people are, with a lot of the businesses, they were created from the ground up, just like this one was. I didn't come on in that capacity. But it's the same thing. It's the same process. I mean, I didn't have to do a pro forma. This isn't a new business, but if you're going to be doing a new business, there are some, like we talked about, those prerequisites. I know you have to have been here, a certain amount of time. And if you are going to develop your own Zingerman, like let's say we make it to that point, if somebody makes it to that point,
Right.
you need to work for 2 years in an existing Zingerman's business before you start your own.
Why is that important?
Chef Alex, I think he was in California or somewhere before he came here, and I mean, I don't know how much he knew about Zingerman's, but if you're not in the culture and
Right.
experiencing it from like inside, I mean, it's hard to then, kind of like reinvent and
Right.
create your own look and feel that is similar to what our brand and our organization, presents.
Yeah, like I think
represents.
about like Thomas Keller, the French Laundry. No matter who you are, where you come from, you start as I think a food runner, right? Like you start in the bottom rung, so you can
Yeah.
understand the culture. You have
Yeah.
to like work through those
Yeah.
positions.
Yeah. It's similar concept. Yeah.
Anything we haven't discussed in terms of where you are today? Important things you've learned that you think you can speak uniquely to our audience.
Well, I will bring up one thing that I kind of started touching on it, but just something that I think has helped and can help other working environments, especially in restaurants. But we have something here at the Roadhouse called like our no drama work, and it's something that we teach in our Welcome to the Roadhouse class.
Okay.
And it's something that Ari helped to create the content for. And I've actually done a couple of webinars. So I've
cool.
only done one podcast, but
Nice.
I've done a couple of
Nice.
webinars with Zing Train on this no drama work. And that's been something that we've been teaching, I think now for the last maybe 5 or 6 years.
Wasn't that one of your bottom lines? Isn't that what you taught? Your bottom line was no drama. Didn't you create a bottom line thing? What was that?
Oh, a bottom line change. Yeah,
was
BLC.
Was that?
Ari did do a BLC on it,
Okay.
and then it kind of like morphed into the content that we teach in our Welcome to the Roadhouse
So no
class.
drama.
Yeah,
So
no
how
drama.
do you have no drama? Why is drama bad?
Well, kind of like we talked about in the environment that I came from originally, the drama impeded my ability to have a good work experience or provide good service to any of my coworkers or my guests. And so it's toxic. It doesn't feel good. And I didn't like it. It felt icky.
Right.
Like I wasn't having fun. Now I get to have fun every day.
So no drama. What does that look like?
Yeah. So no drama. Yeah. So we kind of lay it out in the beginning, or as one part of the Welcome to the Roadhouse class. And it's 5 things that we ask you not to do, and then we give a bunch of like really positive like tools and things to help you if you are feeling like you're getting stressed out or facing whatever challenges that will present themselves because it is a restaurant, but different things that will help you in your work environment.
Okay, so 5 things not to do, and then things you can do if you have experienced drama.
Yeah, or just to like, you feel yourself kind of filling up with stress. It's like, little tools, little snippets of things that will help you in your workday.
All right, so let's unpackage the 5 things not to do.
We ask that you refrain from dramatic language. I don't have it in front of me right now. Hi, Galen. We talked about
taking up too much space over here.
What's that?
Or do you guys need these tables? Am I taking up too much space?
No.
Okay. Cool.
No. You're good.
So 5 things not to do: dramatic language.
Yep, dramatic. So it's like refraining from dramatic language, refraining from negative language. It is. The 5th one is right time, right place, right people. So we kind of talked about, we kind of touched on that earlier, but it is, we talked about the go direct kind of encouragement that we have for staff. So to make sure if they're going to go direct, that it is not in the middle of the dining room on a Friday night or in front of all of our guests right here.
Got it.
You know what I mean? It's going to be like choose an appropriate time and an appropriate audience and make sure that you're taking into consideration all of those things.
Got it. Well, let's start to unpackage dramatic language. So give me an example of dramatic language. Like, how's that different from negative language?
Yeah, I mean, they're similar, but, the one can just be like this, this sucks. Like, I'm so, whatever. Like,
does it really suck?
I know.
Is it that horrible?
I know, right?
Could it be worse?
I know, right? Seriously.
You have a job.
Is it really, do you think you're going to, survive?
Right.
Okay, right. And the dramatic, can be oh, my God, we got so crushed tonight. Like, it was crazy. And it's like, okay, it was busy and it was a challenging shift, but again, those types of things don't necessarily help to we want the positivity and the calm. So we call it the no drama work, but we also say calm is contagious, is another title for it. And so, if we're the negativity and if the dramatics are up, again, it's probably going to impede our ability to come back down here to be able to provide the service that we're trying to provide. So
when you're seeing drama, the dramatic language or negative language, what is the standard to correct that?
Yeah, it would be
is there language you use to correct it?
I'm just gonna assume that somebody's stressed out, and it's what support can I provide, right? Hey, what can I do to help, right? It looks like maybe there's something that I could do. Tell me what I could do to help. Do you need me to go box up food? Do you want me to go rewater your section? What is it that I can do to help you, kind of a thing. One of the other ones that just popped back in my head, that's a really, really, really big one.
I figured if we started talking
about
the
other
ones, the other ones come back.
I really should know these.
So we have dramatic language,
negative language, yep. And one of them is no skunking, and this is I think I got that term from a Union Square hospitality service.
About that.
Yeah. And so we use it here, and everyone, because we teach it in that class, in that introductory class, and we talk about that terminology and what that means. When you say it here to staff, they're they know what that means. Yeah. Right. So it is the opposite of going direct, is what the skunking is, right? It's the talking shit. It's the
negative energy that can swamp.
Somebody Fred. Can you believe what Fred just did? You know what I mean?
You're
it's
skunking right now.
Right? Yeah. It's okay. Well, how about you go talk to Fred a little bit later? Let's keep going.
Yeah.
What can I do for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a big one. Is the skunking.
So we have no dramatic language, no negative language, no skunking, right time, right place, right people. And if you come back with that we're missing one element.
I know. I'm going to think about it.
If it comes into your head, let me know.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about where you are today. What does Zingerman's Roadhouse look like today? In terms of technology, tech stack, where are you guys today? Has there been any significant transformation recently? Are you evolving on that front?
Yeah. So back it was actually during the pandemic, which again, challenging to implement any type of change.
Forced a lot of changes.
But we had planned on doing it anyway, but it ended up happening at that time, and it was good. So we went to handheld devices instead of
using Toast.
Yep.
Okay. So were you using Toast before and then you went to handheld, or you switched?
No.
What did you switch from?
We had digital dining.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how's that transition been? I mean, you were working with digital dining for almost your entire serving career, and you had to switch to Toast.
A long time. The transition and the learning and the back end implementation, you know what I'm saying? That's all presents its own set of challenges.
Yeah.
But we had people that were more techie, right? That's not me. That were took on to those tasks, and they were great. I want to create the back end database of whatever.
Nerds.
The nerds. Yeah. Thank goodness for them.
Gotta love them. Yeah.
Right. So that work got done, and then the training, I think, for on the front end with the staff is the most challenging. We're going from stationary terminals of a system that's very different from Toast, looks very different, operates better but different, and change is usually hard for most people. Right. But being able to not write something down on a piece of paper, go stand in line to put it into a terminal for it, then to go to the kitchen for it. Then, do you know what I mean? Like
Right.
that process is
Yeah.
so not lean.
Are you using KDS now?
No.
No.
We are in the Roadshow.
Okay.
So we do have it over here in our Roadshow area. We don't have it in the kitchen though.
But you have, I'm assuming it's printing out at different stations.
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
tickets at different stations. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So in terms of like, and this is something that I love this conversation whenever I'm talking to legacy brands. Like Zingerman's is a legacy brand, right? It started in 1982, almost 42 years old, right? And it's weird because like the world changes around these brands, right? And you have to kind of evolve your business to go along with the modern times. So like in terms of evolution, is there any new technology you guys are using or that you've recently implemented?
No, I mean, we've got a reservation system, which we're currently on Open Table. We've had lots of different ones over the years. No, Toast, handhelds. I'm trying to think. We have our costing software, which we're looking at getting something a little more upgraded.
What are you using for the costing software?
We have Chef Tech right now.
Okay.
And
That's the Toast plugin. We're not. I think it's a API integration with Toast.
Okay.
Chef Tech, I think.
Okay.
Or is it Extra Chef?
Yeah, I don't know that one is. It's okay. We just, I don't know.
You're
It's
shopping
not
around?
awesome. We are shopping around.
What has
Yeah.
your interest? What excites you? Are you allowed to
Well,
talk about it?
I haven't done a lot of that research myself. We did have a meeting with Mies.
Yep. Get Mies.
Yeah.
Or it's Mies, sponsor of the show. Love Mies.
Yeah.
So, how'd that go? What was interesting about Mies?
It was good. It was very user friendly and very pretty. It was very pretty, and it had a lot of functionality, and a lot of things that would be helpful for us. Like we share our recipes. Like if someone's like, "Hey, can I get the recipe for your spicy mayonnaise?"
Yeah.
We're like, "Yeah, actually, we have it pre-printed up for you."
Yeah.
Or like,
Yeah.
"Here it is," right?
I like the features with Mies too, the ability to scale recipes.
Yeah.
So if you're
Yeah.
not like a super chefy like number person, you'd be
Right.
like, I have 50 pounds of flour.
Right.
How many of these can we make with, like, we have a catering order that just came in, like we can only produce this much pizza, right? Like the catering can't be more for the ingredients, so it helps you scale those recipes to see what you have on hand and see what you can do, which is I think really cool. And then like the actual training associated with it too, like the step-by-step how to do this dish.
Yeah.
Anything else that excites you?
Yeah. About Mies.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I don't use it a lot myself, but like I said, our ability, the scaling, but then the ability that we can also, because like I said, we give a lot of recipes out.
Yeah. What do you mean by that? Recipes out, like just the guests?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just literally print it right out?
Yeah, and so
even
that
with the
one,
links to show them the step-by-step process and how to do it?
well, so that's what we could if we have that, right? But our current process is we take what we have, and somebody has to manually either give them this recipe that's going to make 50, like you said, like whatever. But that having that software would then allow us to very quickly be able to take that recipe down to like a reasonable amount for like a family to make something.
Yeah. Any other technology or things on the horizon future that has your interest, excitement?
I don't think so.
Deep thought.
I know. I'm like,
I really thought about that.
I know. I'm like, is
appreciate
there anything?
So one thing again, so the format of the show is very simple. Who are you? How'd you get here? Where are you today? What does that look like? So we're at the part of the conversation that's like, what does the future look like? Is there anything that's broken with the industry that you think could use improvement? Or like, what direction do you think we should go to make a better industry?
Yeah. Well, I would say with a lot of the writings that Ari's done, which I know you're going to be talking about dignity later, but if you took and you asked, especially the leadership staff, but staff on any level, to read some of the stuff, knowing that it's coming out of somebody who's a restaurant, it's being applied in restaurants. It can be applied in any industry, though. If we just gave people a little bit of homework and a little bit of insight and a little nudging, right? The gentle, never-ending pressure, like the GNP. I think we could improve industries everywhere, but especially restaurants.
So the message is to never settle, to constantly be pushing and elevating your people, lifting your people
and
up.
Improving. Yeah. In some places it just doesn't even exist. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just kind of like you come into your job and and then I'll see you, bye, have a good day. But I mean, and also I guess it depends on like the vision of those restaurants or those establishments. But I know for us, that we are into continual improvement.
Right.
And we always will be. Like you said, the job's never done.
Right.
But you need tools to help you get there.
Well, I think improvement is a relative term, too. What is better? Is it bigger? Is it faster?
Right.
Is it cheaper?
Right.
And I think one thing that Ari, I think, had because of his studying of like anarchy and his like, and studying history, being a history buff.
Yeah.
And I think he had like this really interesting perspective that in his mind, better was going deeper into the community.
Yeah.
And I think that when we think of better, we think of bigger, right? More, faster. But better could be slower, more intimate, deeper. And I think that's what's happening here at Zingerman's is like he's really saying like what's redefined better.
Right. Yeah.
You know, what does better look like?
Right. So so on that tangent, the deeper into the community, but it's also the deeper into yourself. Right. So that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like,
well, behind every great restaurant's a great person.
Right. So it's like going, like, never stopping on that individual level so that you can help support the bigger
right.
picture.
If you want to continue to lift your people up, you have to continue to climb higher.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. This has been a lot of fun, Lisa.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. A couple questions to wrap up before we say goodbye.
Yep.
What's one thing about Zingerman's Roadhouse, a value, a process, a system that makes you truly unstoppable?
Well, there's a lot.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the stuff that we have kind of been mentioning, but I think, open book is huge. It's just a different way to run a business.
Why is it huge?
Just the impact that it can have, so where it's not, it's not me, right? Like, it's not just me. Like, oh, yeah, it's like Lisa's restaurant. Lisa does this. The accountant does this. It's we all play a part and impact things. And it makes that, it shows people and hopefully enlightens and inspires people to say, it's us. It's not me. And it's not even we. It's all of us together are creating this thing and moving it forward. And so bringing everybody together to know and show them how they impact things is huge.
Well, yeah, when you, like, numbers don't lie. So the numbers will literally tell you the pulse of your business.
Yeah.
And when you can share all those numbers with everybody in your team, now you can keep score. It's the game of business. Jack Stack. I know Ari's a fan of Jack Stack.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
The game of business.
Yep.
Right? But in order to play the game, you got to keep score. And the numbers are the way you keep score. And when you open up those numbers to your entire staff, now you're tapping into this infinite power of potential energy that's there, that's sitting, being wasted unless you tap into it. And when you tap into these people and you give them, you get to hear their perspectives, their ideas of how you can shave 0.5% here and there. That compounds.
Yeah.
But you got to open yourself up to it. You got to open the books.
Yeah.
So it's super powerful. I love it.
Yeah.
The mission, again, is to change the world through inspiring, empowering, and transforming the industry. And I think we're going to do that by transforming one owner at a time. So how have you personally transformed? Who is Lisa today versus Lisa back in 2004 when you joined as a server?
Right. I think I'm aware, and I've learned that what I enjoy in this job and in my life is helping, supporting, teaching, helping to improve, right, and whatever that means. And that's, I guess, kind of a calling for myself and why I love this restaurant and very much enjoy the role that I'm in. So this is the last question. If you got the news, you'd be leaving this world tomorrow. All the memories of you, your work, and your restaurants would be lost with your departure, with the exception of 3 pieces of wisdom that you could leave behind for the good of the industry, for your legacy, pretend you're leaving them behind for your children. 3 pieces of wisdom. What would those 3 pieces of wisdom be? You said that I've learned through restaurants. Well, just in general. Your growth. Yeah. I would say love. 1. Trust. 2. And listen. 3. Those are good ones. Yeah. Those are really good ones. Love, trust, listen. Yeah. Lisa, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much. And I really want this is technically the last question. I keep on always saying, from habit, I say this is the last question. Right. But the real last question is, who do you respect and admire in the industry? Who do you think is doing it right? If they were a guest on this podcast, I could convert you to a full-time podcast listener because you'd want to listen to that episode. Well, I know best the businesses that are within the Zingerman's community of
Yep.
businesses. I don't get out too much.
Right.
So, I mean, I would say we have a lot of, I think it's over 50% or at least 50% managing partners
Wow.
in the organization. So the female owners, not that the males aren't wonderful too, but we have a nice representation of females, strong female leadership within the organization. And so honestly, all of them are kicking ass.
Yeah.
So you take, I mean, if you
Any
want-
of any of the pick of the litter from the Zingerman's community of owners.
Yeah.
Female.
Yeah.
You
So
got it.
Amy Emberline has been with us for a very long time. Grace Singleton, who's the female managing partner at the deli.
Got it.
And Tabitha Mason used to be the restaurant manager here. She was the restaurant manager before I took the role.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Amy, Grace, Tabitha, look out. Coming after you, ladies. Would love to get you on the show. Maybe the next trip, because I'm ready to sit at a lake in Maine someplace.
Yes.
I'm going home.
Enjoy yourself. That sounds fabulous.
And how can we connect if we wanted to maybe come work for the Roadhouse or
Yeah.
follow you online or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have the zingermansroadhouse.com website for just general information.
Yeah.
Zingermanscommunity.com, though, if you're interested in more about the entire organization and or working with us in any of the businesses, you can find lots of information there.
Got it. Lisa, thank you so much. This is episode 1119. If you guys want to reference this conversation, check out the notes on any player, Spotify, iTunes. If you just scroll right into that player, we'll link to any tools or services that were recommended in a summary of today's discussion. This is where I say, Lisa, there is no questioning. You are unstoppable.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Cheers.